going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Kevin Jackwitz. This is Back to the Cage review and Zack Snyder's Justice League for the final review, the spoiler review, the big spoiler talk. This is the big one because there is a lot of stuff that happened in this movie. It's 4 hours long. It was ridiculously chock full of stuff that we did not get in the theatrical cut, and just about everything that we did get from the theatrical cut was different. Changed in image, tone. You get a lot more depth of character, you get a lot more character interaction and purpose behind what people are doing. I really loved it. So directed by Zack Snyder, obviously, it's called Zack Snyder's Justice League. Ben Affleck returning as Batman, Henry Cavill as Superman, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, Ezra Miller as Flash, Jason Momoa as Aquaman. You have Ciarán Hinds as Steppenwolf, which is really cool. Ray Porter is voicing Darkseid. So you have a hell of a cast here. Like, you've got a hell of a cast. You got Willem Dafoe making appearances, Amber Heard, Jared Leto, of course, as the Joker. So you've got a hell of a presence here in this movie. So the question is, can they balance everything? And yes, I thought they did a very good job. I think Zack Snyder's vision really came out here. And the movie even starts off with a completely different feel. At the beginning of the theatrical cut, you have these kids making this little film with Superman. He's got mustache gate going on. This starts out literally at the end of Batman v Superman, where Superman's been stabbed through the chest from Doomsday, and he lets out this death scream that rattles one of the mother boxes, and that's how this whole thing kind of initiates. The mother box sends out the signal, Steppenwolf comes, and so everything at the beginning of this movie starts out with a much, much different feel. The beginning of Wonder Woman's introduction, where she's stopping those terrorists. You get probably maybe a minute or two of extra footage there, but it's so good, and that's the difference. It's like they cut out all the best parts, and I don't know why. They definitely make her more fierce when the terrorists are getting bounced around in this whatever it was, I think it was some type of museum, when they're getting bounced around the walls. You see blood splatter when they hit the walls. Like, it was pretty intense. The R rating did do something for this, honestly. When you're talking about the whole Gods Among Men thing, which I've talked about before, this is what the fight would look like. It would be completely lopsided. Guys would be just getting absolutely destroyed, and they kind of showed that here. And even at the end of that whole sequence where Wonder Woman's fighting off the terrorists, she hits her bracelets together and just blows out the entire wall of this building. So I thought that was like really amazing. It was a great shot. But beyond just like making these sequences better, longer, you get more footage, you get more wow moments, you also get the character development. And that was one of the big things in this movie. And Cyborg, man, I gotta tell you, his story from beginning to end was absolutely amazing. I am shocked, and I mean literally shocked, that the studio thought that this did not deserve to be in the theatrical cut. They took out so many good moments. You see Cyborg when he's still a guy in college playing football, and what happens to him, and what happens to his mother, and what makes his dad feel the way he did, and why he did what he did to create Cyborg. And then Cyborg's resentment with his dad because of it, and then, you know, his family issues with that, and then coming into meeting the Justice League and having kind of like the same kind of family issues with this new family in the Justice League. Like, it was really, really good, man. I loved the way they built that character up, and when he finally finds himself and kind of accepts what he is now, it was amazing. And there was a great segment, probably not even halfway through the movie, where they were describing like the abilities that Cyborg has that go way just beyond like being able to fly or strength or whatever. Some of his digital abilities, you know, and this being kind of the modern world, the technological age, he's been able to manipulate that, and that was amazing. You know, they were talking about how he could transfer money and launch nuclear weapons with just a thought. Like, it was amazing. It was really, really awesome. And so I really loved what they did with Cyborg, Ray Fisher, is a great actor, and he played it off very, very well. Like, he definitely had some emotional strokes in this movie that were not in the theatrical release that, I mean, really make you appreciate his acting, for sure. So, let's talk about another character that just didn't have anything to do, really, in the first movie, which was Flash. Flash is an amazing character, incredibly smart, but his powers go so far beyond just running fast. And they really showcase that a couple of times in this movie, especially toward the end, where they kind of do like a bait and switch thing, kind of like a very, very quick version of Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame all rolled into one, because the bad guy wins and then something happens to reverse that. Well, the thing that happens to reverse that is Flash sees what's happening and literally reverses time. If you don't know, that's one of his abilities. He can move so fast that he starts to reverse time, and they show that a couple of times in this movie. And so essentially Cyborg at the end of the movie is trying to get into the mother boxes to control them and then pull them apart. Well, Flash doesn't push him into the mother boxes in time. They form the Unity, everything goes crazy, all of the Justice League gets exploded except for Flash because he wasn't near them. And so he starts running to reverse time, pulls everything back together, pushes Cyborg into the mother boxes, and that's how they get to apply, you know, the pressure on Steppenwolf, pull the mother boxes apart, get the win, kind of. So it was very cool. It was very cool to see him do that. There was also a scene where he gets shot and he uses his abilities to heal himself, which is another ability that he has. And so I like stuff like that. I really love. I love the attention to character detail, especially when you're dealing with like comic book characters. You know, he did nothing in the first movie. He pushed a truck. Like, that was it. It was stupid. So to come back and see this, like, there was honestly some really wow moments with that. I love a lot of the character interactions. Steppenwolf, as a villain, you really understand his motivations now. He was so vanilla in the theatrical cut. He was just a basic, bland bad guy. No purpose really whatsoever. Here you understand that, okay, first of all, no one even says in the movie that it's Darkseid's uncle, but in the comics, this is Darkseid's uncle. He betrayed Darkseid, so now Darkseid said he owes him like 50,000 worlds or something like that in order to make up for what he did. And so this is Steppenwolf trying to get back in Darkseid's good graces. But then he comes to Earth and finds the anti-life equation, which is like basically the ultimate weapon that Darkseid's been searching for a very long time. And now this is Steppenwolf's in to get back into the good graces of Darkseid even quicker. But you understand all of this, like you get the relationship between everybody here, and you understand that Darkseid is really the main big bad here. You get to see a lot more of Darkseid in this movie too, but that he's kind of controlling Steppenwolf, and Steppenwolf, in some ways, you almost feel bad for because he's, you know, under Darkseid's foot. But it was very cool. The animation for Steppenwolf's suit was amazing too. The CGI in this movie was so much better than what we got with the theatrical cut as well. That was one of the big things that I think really made this movie, is even just the look of Steppenwolf. He looked way more menacing in this. His armor was amazing. When he first shows up in Themyscira to take the first mother box and he's dealing with the Amazons, like, that whole fight scene extended, looks great, but when you first see him, you're like, oh, this is different. But even during the battle, you realize that it's not just like a cool looking armor, it actually has uses. There is a scene where a bunch of Amazons shoot like a ton of arrows into his body, and the armor just clamps down and fucking breaks all the arrows. It was really cool, so it was functional too. And that was an awesome moment to see, like, that made it look cool. There was also a moment where they had shot some arrows into him and they were tied with ropes and they were trying to drag him down, and he just grabs the ropes and like throws 3 horses into a group of Amazons. Like visually it just looked really, really cool. And you're like, why would they take that out of the theatrical cut? That makes no sense. Like, these are some of the best shots in the movie, and you get nothing, none of it. You get it replaced with stupid jokes, which really weren't funny. I mean, that was the point. Like, if they'd have done it well, it would have been one thing, but it was just poorly done all the way around. The one big gripe I think I have with this as far as character is still Batman. Batman is kind of like the leader, but he's incredibly smart. That's one of his main things as a character is, you know, you have Detective Batman, you have this guy who is able to use knowledge, you know, that's how he creates all these things. And it really was kind of like Alfred seemed more like he was the guy behind the brains of everything here. Alfred was the one kind of directing traffic in a lot of moments here in this movie. So Batman, you know, he was remorseful about what happened with Superman, and he wanted to bring these guys together, and we kind of got that. And there was a point to it for that, but I still feel like I wish that there was more for Batman to do. Now, obviously, he's not going to be fighting Steppenwolf. He's still just a guy. He's a guy with a lot of money and some brains, but he's still just a guy. So you need the Aquamans, you need the Wonder Womans, you need the Supermans to battle somebody like Steppenwolf. But it did kind of limit what they could do with him. And that was the unfortunate thing there. I still liked Wonder Woman in this. I really loved what they did with Superman. The black suit was very, very cool. And it didn't really change much, to be honest. It was just aesthetically different. But even when they brought Superman back, you know, you didn't get the stupid jokes like, you know, what was it like when you came back and he says, itchy, that's all gone. Thank God. When he first faces Steppenwolf, that was a very cool moment. He blocks an axe going towards Cyborg and he just says not impressed. Very cool. But then the actual fight between Superman and Steppenwolf was pretty amazing. I really love some of the stuff they did. The eye laser just cutting off one of Steppenwolf's horns. That was pretty sick. Like, that was pretty badass. And then even at the end of the movie, you know, the theatrical cut just, it didn't make sense. Superman used his frost breath, they broke Steppenwolf's axe, and then Batman's like, you smell that? It's fear. And then Steppenwolf's fighting off the parademons, they go back up a boom tube. He doesn't really die. It was really, really poorly done. Like, that's not a very good ending. Here, you have an ending. They beat the hell out of Steppenwolf. They send him back through a portal to Darkseid's world of Apocalypse. And as he's going through, Wonder Woman jumps up and cuts his head off after being speared with Aquaman's trident and Superman burning one of his horns off. So this dude's dead. And then you see Darkseid staring at the Justice League at the end of the movie, and he just crushes Steppenwolf's head. And so that leads perfectly into Justice League 2. Like, that's the perfect setup. You don't get any better. As far as Darkseid himself, like I said, you get to see a lot more of him in the movie. The whole mid-battle sequence where they were talking about the forces of men aligning and fighting back Steppenwolf, while in this it's actually Darkseid. Darkseid without his armor, he's a little bit weaker, and he comes to Earth and he's fighting all of the gods, Zeus, Ares, he's fighting a Green Lantern, the Atlanteans, the Amazons. So everybody's teamed up to fight back Darkseid. And so they beat him, in, you know, his mission now is to come back and find the anti-life equation, which is still on Earth, and take Earth as its captive. And so that's kind of like the whole position here. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, it shows you a nice big circle of events that actually explain what happens and why everything is happening now. And I really, really love that. Couple of weak points. Sometimes the CGI didn't look exactly great, but it did look a lot better than we got for the theatrical cut, like a lot better, even with the designs. I like the darker tone. He kind of desaturated things a little bit, so it was a little bit darker, a little bit moodier. That's Zack Snyder for you. Some of the music choices for this movie, there was a scene early on where Batman meets Aquaman, and it's kind of the same thing you get in the theatrical cut, except for better. But when Aquaman's leaving, all these like village girls start singing this really unique song, and it just took me out of it for a second. There were a couple of song choices. We all know Zack Snyder has his really unique music choices for movies. A couple of them this time, they did kind of like, it just made me scratch my head a little bit. But other than that, I absolutely love this movie. I feel like it was directed so much better. You had so much more cohesion to it. And you got a lot more emotion out of it, I think. Because you understand these characters and their interactions and how they feel about their families and the rest of the Justice League and everything that's going on, it gives you a little bit more of a feeling when something happens. It gives you a little bit more impact. And so I really love that. So I already gave this a 9 out of 10 in my non-spoiler review, and I think I'm going to stick with that here because, despite some minor irritations with the movie, like the music choices, some of the CGI, I feel like overall it was a very, very good movie. So ladies and gentlemen, that's where I'm at. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. My name is Kevin Jackowitz, Kaged Nation, out.